agree with this. You know, big, large groups, they will bring the price down. And folks, the treatment is not going to, you go to this doctor, he does this little, you go to the next specialist, the next specialist. Now the government wants to pay for one disease. You take care of the whole thing. So there are big groups that are forming with varied doctors, varied specialties and the others. And it is good. It actually is going to finally bring efficiencies in only one field, which has been mom and pop driven for as many years as it has. And I really think that's a good thing. So doctors, beware that this particular steamrolling that's coming around means wrapping you all up. Sell your practices, because down the road, they're going to make it difficult for mom and pops to run their own practice.
And honestly, I think we should not approach any of these changes with fear. I think the problem with the way the Republicans have put fear around this health care reform...
Wait a second, that was a Democratic bill. Don't do that.
No, I'm simply saying that both sides have positioned it differently. The Democrats have been trying to position it as revolution and reform. The Republicans have been positioning it as fearing what happens as a result of this. And I think you can't fear what's coming, because you have to change the industry. You can't continue on the path that it's on. So if we, rather than approach it with fear, approach it constructively, understand where the problem points are, then I think you at least can arrive constructively towards solving those issues. Right now, we're in gridlock, and until we get past it, you're not going to see changes.
Well, it's good. The doctors will get to sleep more. You know, will worry less about all these lawsuits and the others. These big firms, they're operating just like a legal organization does, a law firm does. It's PC. In other words, you come in as a doctor, you stay 5 years, you become a partner. You have much bigger income pool to come to. Then you become a senior partner. That's a much, much bigger pool. So they're becoming like the law firms. And that's where it should be, really, except that they should not charge as much as lawyers charge.
Well, let's hope that that change also comes with everything else. But of course, the other big news in town is the presidential visit. President of China, Hu Jintao, in town. This is a big deal because it's the first time the president of China has come here since the 1970s, since Nixon's presidency. So you wonder if there's some warming between the U.S. and China relations.
Well, there are a lot of problems on the table. The number one problem is the yuan is way too cheap as it is controlled by China. It used to be 8 wons to $1 fixed, but now they've opened it up, but still controlling it 6.2. Folks, I want to tell you, yuan, according to IMF, is worth 27 cents. That means it's less than a four in a dollar, you know. Right now it's 6 point something. So the Congress wants them to realize that, and, you know, revalue your currency so that the jobs can be opened up in America and the other places. Yeah, we got into it. You know, we wanted to get these cheap goods. And slowly China started putting value in that manufacturing goods. Now, as you may have seen, the stealth bomber was built by China, which really worries the United States government. But I must say, it always happens. You know, you cannot always stay in grade 1. You have to graduate to 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now it's a very good opportunity for China to make sure that America is healthy, that Americans have jobs, and yes, some of the manufacturing needs to come back here. He doesn't have to hoard everything over there.
You know, this is an interesting one for me, because you wonder which side is pulling the strings on the other. Because you can say we are the largest consumer of Chinese goods. On the other hand, they are the largest owner of our debt. Yeah. So, you know, both sides can exert a degree of control over the other, which makes this state visit very important, because along with all of these economic sides of this, you have the human sides of this, in that China is a communist country. There have been long-standing debates about its human rights. Mm-hmm. And our ability to influence their leadership to change some of those policies. We have not had much success, and I don't think we're going to have much success moving forward. But the change is still rapidly occurring within China, within its people. So if you study it, it's a very interesting mix of what's happening in that country versus what's happening here.
I want to tell you, yes, we want to harp on human rights. But that's not the debate.
No.
The debate is jobs, jobs, and jobs. Everything else can wait for later on. Right now, that's what they're deciding. But China has been in news for a couple other items, folks. The recent Bloomberg Businessweek magazine has talked about, in U.S. we have what we call shell companies. You can actually go ahead and register a shell company with New York Stock Exchange. Yes, there is no purpose to it. You just have some money in it, and it stays there. What the Chinese companies are doing, it's very hard for them to get listed in China. They have an organization called SAIC up there. They're very tough. So Chinese companies can't get themselves registered in a public company in China.
But they can do it here.
But they can do it here. The unfortunate part is there are 370 of them that have done this in the last 5 years. There are a number of companies, profiles that is given in the story. But basically, $91 million sales announced here in the United States and actually $1 million in China.
And let me guess, there's probably people who are looking to invest in foreign stocks who think China is where all the action is.
That's right.
They're investing in these companies which really aren't anything but just empty holding companies.
Precisely. And they get into some of these indexes, and so many of the mutual funds are buying. A company's stock sells for $4, it's gone up to $28. Come on, $1 million sales, the stock is at $28. I mean, they're ripping Americans off. Folks, be careful when you invest in a small Chinese company that is listed here in America. Don't think that gives you safety. It does not.
I just say to myself, why not invest in American companies?
That's
just
right.
like we say, let's buy American so that we can help our industries here at home. Invest in American companies.
Absolutely, that's what I do.
There's no reason why we can't help ourselves instead of helping China even more than they're already helping themselves.
Now, one of the other items, because of the president being here last week, is that the Chinese bank have opened up in New York and Los Angeles, and they want your money. They want you to deposit no more than $20,000 a year in their own currency, not in American dollars. They'll convert it into their own currency. India, of course, has had it for a very long time, and Indian currency hasn't appreciated. But here, the Wall Street Journal is saying, say suppose you put that money, the interest rates are nothing to talk about, 1.8, 1.6%. That's about all you're going to get. But